Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to week 8 of the Next Level. This is a workshop series presented by Papstone Enterprise Center and the Small Business Education Institute. And as we are every week, we are sponsored by KeyBank. So big shout out to KeyBank for allowing us to come into your living rooms or your home offices or your work office or your car, wherever you're calling in from, and allowing us to educate you and to network with you and share some knowledge on how to be a more prepared and a better entrepreneur and small business owner. So thank you, KeyBank, for allowing us to do this. This week, we're going to be talking about succession planning, and I'm not going to spoil it by talking about this because I'm not an expert, but we have 2 experts in the room today. Of course, Mr. McCarley, as always, is here with us today. I've got to let one more person in here from the waiting room. So Mr. McCarley is going to be leading us today, and we have Crystal Rodriguez-Dabney as well. She is going to be the legal mind in the room. She's going to be the legal expert in the room. Yes. You guys are going to get to meet Crystal. Some of you know her, but she's going to be here today, and you guys are going to get to see her. She's going to be a familiar face. So she is a newer member of our Papstone roster, of our Papstone team. So you'll get to know Crystal, and you guys will love her as much as we do. So, and I'm going to get through this first part so we can get to Mike and Crystal, and let's get into kind of the announcement section and rules of engagement. The best way to engage with us, which the whole point of this is engagement, making sure that we know what you guys need, we're getting you what you need, and that you're telling us how we can better serve you. And you guys are asking your questions, getting them answered, and you're getting the knowledge you're expecting to get. So the best way to engage with us, though, is through the chat feature, which is down at the bottom of your screen, kind of in the middle. It's a little text bubble. Let us know what questions you have or comments, curiosities, and we'll get those all answered for you. If we don't answer them in the session today, we will send them out via email after today's session. So when you put something in the chat, it gives us a record of it. So we actually go back through the chat after every section and read every line to make sure that we've answered every question. If you're not comfortable with the chat, which some people aren't, we understand that, you can just come off and use your microphone and just talk to us. We're totally open with that. If you're going to use your microphone, though, we ask that you, if you have a headset, use it. It kind of cuts down on some of that background noise, some of that static. So go ahead and use it, kind of have a cleaner sound there. If you're not using your microphone, if you're not speaking to the group at the moment, mute yourself. That, again, cuts down on background noise, static, whatever's going on in the background, whether it's virtual school or somebody else working, whatever that is, it makes sure that we cut down on some of that chatter. And another thing you guys should know is that we record all these. So this is being recorded right now. It's being broadcast out over Facebook Live right now. It's also going to be going up on YouTube for the rest of eternity. And so we love seeing your smiling faces. We ask that you be on camera. I'm on camera. Hi, everybody. You know what I look like now. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're not comfortable with having your image recorded, we totally understand and respect that, and you can feel free to shut the camera off. But we do love to see your smiling faces. It helps us know that everybody's kind of paying attention and getting what they need, and we can, a lot of times I have a confused look on my face. So if you have a confused look on your face, it helps us know where the questions lie. A few announcements before I get with Mike and Crystal here. The Next Level virtual workshop series is every Monday. That's what we're doing right now. So Mondays from 12 to 1:30. We're going to be doing that through November, all through November. Mondays 12 to 1:30. The Next Level. This is week 8. We're going through 12 weeks, and then at the end of that 12th week, December 4th, we're going to have graduation. And if you have not sent us your headshot and your bio for graduation, go ahead and send that in because we want to make sure we have the best picture for you and the best biography for you when we put you in graduation. To be invited to graduation, to be a graduate, you have to have attended at least 6 of the 12 classes. So if you know you're going to attend 6, or if you already have attended 6 of the 12 sessions, go ahead and send us the bio, send us your picture, and we'll get that into the graduation slideshow. If you graduated from boot camp and you already sent us your headshot and bio, we can go ahead and use that if you want us to. You just got to let us know. So feel free to just put it in the chat if you want us to use your boot camp graduation headshot and bio. Also, let's talk about money real quick. Fast Forward Monroe Grant Program. That ends, Dion, am I right that ends today at 5 o'clock? The application closes today at 5 o'clock?
That is correct, as well as the Erie County Back to Business Grant. Both, the deadline for both grants are today.
Right. So if you guys are looking for money for your established business, if you're looking for relief funds, you can apply for both of those grants, and they'll be in an email blast. They're in previous email blasts. You want to look in previous emails from Papstone to find those links. You can also check us out. You can also check out our social media and our website for direction to that. If you have questions about where to find those, we will put those links in the chat as well today, so you can get access to funds for your small business. Also, the Road to Wealth on November 19th from 3 to 5 p.m. We're having another virtual kind of collaborative session. We're going to have a big workshop with local funders and CDFIs for you guys to come in and learn more about financial management and how to where to find the right grants and loans for your small business. So join us on November 19th, 2020, Capital Connect here in Western New York and in upstate New York. We're getting together and we're going to talk to you about grant funding, loans, financing options for you to start and grow your small business. So join us. It's free, and I mean free, real free. No strings attached. Join us for a couple hours and we will get you with the right person, the right organization to fund your business. And my favorite announcement is a project that Jahida and I have been working on and has been blessed by Dion and continues to be promoted by Dion, is the Profit and Loss podcast. So Jahida and I get together every week and we get to ramble with each other. So it's a lot of fun. We've got a few episodes out right now. There, you can get them wherever you find your podcasts, and it's about 30 minutes, so it's a pretty quick podcast. We've talked about a number of things ranging from questions about how to get a loan and what you go through when you're a business owner trying to get a loan to start your business or grow your business, as well as some of those softer skill things, those more mindset things about how to go from planning to execution, how to go from planning to starting. So we've talked about all those things. We have a new episode dropping on Wednesday where I won't tell you what we're talking about, but check it out Wednesday. And we'll have a new episode every Wednesday. So check us out on there, the Profit and Loss podcast from Papstone Enterprise Center. And now I'm going to hand it over to Dion and let Dion call on a couple people to go through the exercise of pitching your business, introducing your business to the group. And I know we have a few people who are exempt from this because they're working on it with Mr. McCarley. But Dion, I will go ahead and hand it over to you and let you call on a few people.
Great. Thank you so much, Adam, and good afternoon, everyone. It is good to see familiar faces and names in the room. Crystal, welcome. It's good to have you here this morning. You get a feel for what our business training programs are like and what our audience is like. There's some really wonderful entrepreneurs and small business owners in the room. Without further comment, I will call on my first participant, Ariana. Would you like to take yourself off mute and using the script that we're sharing on our screen right now to introduce your business and yourself? Ariana? Okay, I assume you're not comfortable with that. Let me see who else I can call on. Lamar, I haven't heard from you in a while. How about you?
Hello, my name is Lamar Swan. I'm the owner of Lamar Swan Landscaping, an establishment engaged into landscaping. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need for lawn cutting and landscaping services. One of our solutions is to provide great landscaping great landscaping at affordable prices. We accomplish this by providing the best landscaping in town.
Lamar, thank you so much for sharing. We did have a little bit of an issue with your sound. So it kind of came across as muffled. But I think you covered all the bases. So thank you for doing that. But just so you're aware that we're having a little problem with the quality of your sound there. Okay, let's see. Linda Brundage, good afternoon. Hi, Linda. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Good, good.
Okay. My name is Linda Brundage, and I'm the president owner. I'm sorry. I'm the president of Marie's Mobile Notary. I'm still working out the name, but it's an establishment engaged in notarizing documents. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need for those who needed documents notarized, especially after one of our solutions to notarizing, I don't know how to say this, but one of our solutions to notarizing documents is to provide services that are 24/7 for very affordable prices. We accomplish this by having our services. I'm sorry, I'm kind of struggling right now, but
You're doing okay, Linda. So did you say you have a mobile notarization service? Do you say you provide mobile notarization services?
yes.
Okay. So one of your solutions is to provide mobile services. What about online? Are you able to also do e-signatures?
Yes, until the 4th, actually. But so of November, they've extended it to the 4th. So yeah.
Okay.
And I've also the other service I include is if the documents needed to be printed out. I mean, there will be an extra cost, but I can print out the documents, have them sign it, and then ship it for them.
Oh, very good. Do you have a drop-off service?
You said yes.
Yes.
It'd just be a little extra, but I know some people might not have printers, so I do that. I do include that in my services. But like I said, I print them out. I'll come to them, sign it, and have them sign it, and then if they need it shipped out, I can do that for them too.
That's great. You're filling some gaps right there, right? If people can't get to you, you will get to them. Because of COVID-19 and we're not doing a lot of in-person business anymore, you're able to provide your services virtually. Right?
Hey, Mike. Could you kind of walk through the script with Linda there and maybe coach her through how to do the pitch by using your script?
Yeah, I can actually do that. Actually, probably even better, just for time purposes. Let me work with her on the side, and then that way she'll be able to actually understand some of the parts a little better.
Great. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Linda, for sharing. Please put your contact information in the chat if you haven't already done so. I know that there have been times when I've been at the Buffalo office and we needed to have something notarized and we had to travel at least a mile to a bank to get our documents notarized. So this is good to know. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. Lathanette, how about you? Would you like to share a little bit about your business and yourself using the script on the screen?
Good morning, or excuse me, good afternoon. My name is Lathanette Shine, and I am the owner and director of USA Occupational Services, an establishment engaged in performing on-site as well as mobile drug and alcohol testing services along with DNA testing. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need for on-site drug testing services for DOT transportation companies as well as for private owners. One of our solutions to drug and alcohol testing, one of our solutions to solving the need for drug and alcohol testing for businesses. We accomplished this by our website, one-on-one conversations, as well as referrals from other clients, resulting in excellent services and wonderful relationships.
Great, thank you so much, Lathanette. And finally, I am going to, I know you, because this is a regular group of participants, I've called on several of you multiple times, but let's see, Coach Ash. Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley, and I am the founder of AO Ash, an establishment engaged in giving back to the people and empowering the people. This business was born out of an observation that there was a need for, actually my script doesn't really fit this, but my business is made out of the need for to have people explore themselves and step into their most full and empowered selves by doing a lot of introspection. One of our solutions is to do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, as well as individual classes. We accomplish this by sitting down with them and really focusing on what they want to accomplish, as well as giving them our spin on things and challenging them to do a little bit more or broaden their view, resulting in a newfound sense of self and accomplishment. I definitely just winged that, but because I had a day today, but yeah.
Well, that wasn't bad. That was really good. Thank you so much, Coach Ash. And thanks everyone for sharing. Keep working at your pitches. I know Michael is going to be reaching out to some of you to help you develop your personal pitch one-on-one. So good luck. And Michael, over to you.
Thank you. Actually, we're going to run this to Adam because Adam is going to do this introduction.
You're on mute, Adam.
Thank you, Jahida. That's, I think, time 5 today. Jahida has saved me. So, as you guys know, the last 7 weeks we've had Mr. McCarley lead us and be our Sherpa through this journey. And today we're going to add somebody to that mix. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Crystal Rodriguez-Dabney. She is one of the newer members of the Pathstone technical assistance team. She is wonderful. She's an attorney. She's a life coach. She's an author. She also works here in Buffalo and works on getting stuff done in other capacities like higher ed, things like that. So Crystal, I'm going to say hey to you and let you introduce yourself to the class here, and then we'll get started with Mr. McCarley. So Crystal.
Good afternoon, everyone. Adam, thank you for that. I'm so happy to join the team. This is my first webinar, so I'm sort of going to just be filling in the blanks if needed. As Adam said, I'm an attorney and my niche is in small businesses, specifically small businesses owned by minorities and females. I love helping minorities get their business together. Thank you, Barbara. I love seeing, I get excited when I have put paperwork together and I have people sign. This morning, I just had that experience, and mailing it off is something that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So I have been a business owner. One currently is very successful, one in the past, not so much. So I have had the lesson, baptism by fire, the lessons of what to do, what not to do, but also then there's the legal experience. And my goal is just to make sure that everyone in their business is protected, structured, and able to thrive so that they can succeed and sustain. So thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you.
Wonderful. Crystal, thank you so much for, we're excited to have you with us and excited to have you as part of our team, of part of our family here. We've talked about on our workshops before how this really is a family as we go through these. So we build this nice unit. So, and now we'll get started with one of the more prominent and famous members of our family, Mr. McCarley, and I will hand over presentation powers to you, the patriarch.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. How are we doing? Make sure everybody is here, up and ready. Drop me something in the chat. You can even give me a thumbs up. Crystal, thank you for joining us. One of the things that we're going to do today is, again, we're going to talk about succession planning. And one of the things that's enormously apparent about succession planning is, quite honestly, the simple fact that many of us don't think a lot about it. And so a lot of this class is based on introducing those items we don't think about. Again, it's the mind of business. What is it that I need to do? How do I need to do it? How do I make it happen? What do I need to do to think about my future? And Crystal's going to actually help me out on this particular side. I'm going to do an introduction to part of the process, and Crystal is actually going to give a legal side to that particular category. So, like anything else, we are in week 8. We've had our introduction in week 1. We have worked on the story since week 2. Deanne had a couple of you guys go through it. I'm working with 4 individuals who will actually present in week 12 what it is that they've learned in doing not just part 1, but also what they will do for part 2. We've talked about numbers a little bit. Again, numbers are everything. Again, I will do a lot of references to Shark Tank, but one of the things that I always ask people about are, what are your numbers? And you really need to know them. We talked about marketing, but not so much from the perspective of, how do you market the business? What we looked at is, can you justify, especially as a new start, that there is enough of a market out there for what you do? We went into week 5 with the success formula, which was, it's the ultimate formula. That's the bottom line. And COVID-19 actually proved the effectiveness of success formula if individuals had actually begun to use it. Now, some of you were new to it, but it's never too late as you, again, continue to plan your futures and your businesses. We talked about Porter's 5 forces. Enormously important because these are things that actually impact us as businesses a lot of times that we don't always necessarily immediately think about. We hear and talk about the aspect of competition. What we don't talk about is, am I in a marketplace that's easy to get into? Which means my competition can actually increase exponentially for what I have, what I do. Can what you have be substituted? That's another area that we don't necessarily look at. I make the example of, water is actually a substitute for Coca-Cola. So these are some of the things that you want to keep in mind, other than also pressure from the vendors themselves by which you are buying, especially products from, but you also get pressure which actually comes from your customers as well. And then in week 7, we took a look at projections. And projections, again, last week, is really to begin to understand that when you are putting together numbers for your business, you're putting together a cash flow statement. And in your cash flow statement, excuse me, your numbers, whatever cash you have left, carries into the next month. If you do not have any cash at the end of that particular month, then that means you need to take a look at a couple of things. One, how much cash have you put into the business? Two, how much cash are you actually going to need for the following month? So that three, you can either put more money into the business or you can begin to make a plan that extends your financial access to cover you for a short period of time, which normally are either loans and or lines of credit in many people's cases. And this particular week, we're going to talk a little bit again about designing your succession plan. Everybody must keep in mind that everything that you do in business, I hope, came from some plan. And if for some reason the plan falls short, what's the next thing you do? You take a look at it, review, was it effective? What needs to be changed? Re-implement. This is a common formula, not only for businesses, but also in life. So let's keep it moving here. So how many people are with me? How many people are alive and well on the call? Give me a thumbs up. Put it in the chat that you're here, that you're ready. You want to make things happen. All right, yes, that's what I like to see. Yes, thank you for your thumbs, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So good, so good. So, as usual, how do we normally start off our particular sessions? Where do you stand? And this is primarily put in place for individuals to take a look at where you're at, mentally, physically, financially, and spiritually. This is enormously important. Want people, either they can put your numbers in the chat, but you definitely want to be able to keep those numbers for yourself, to go back, to take a look at where am I in this particular process? How am I feeling? Is my mind together? If not, what happened and what can I do to make the change? How am I physically? Where am I at financially? Where am I at spiritually? And please understand, folks, you don't have to actually make the enhancements by yourself. And with regard to the business, this is why Pathstone is here, to provide the assistance that's necessary to move you forward. This is why I'm here. This is why Adam is here. Dion flies in every week from the Bahamas just to, let people know what's going on. That's one of 15 stops. We sometimes need a break here. All right, I got my numbers in for the most part. Cool, cool. Getting a couple more in. I noticed a couple people, and this is just an observation, mentally you seem to be getting better. That's a good thing. Anybody that's actually having some issues, again, if it associates itself with a lot of what's actually going on, give me a call. Give Deanna a call. Give you a hide. Oh, no, don't give Deanna a call. I'm sorry. She's still recuperating from the trip. Okay, so give her a day. But give me a call. Sometimes we just need somebody to talk to. There's a thing called the Mastermind Alliance, a concept that was initially introduced by Napoleon Hill. For those of you who have read Think and Grow Rich, enormously important concept. It helps us to do a lot of things. And so as long as we can keep that together, and again, be able to bounce ideas off people, what do I do? How do I do it? So last week, again, we talked about the projections. This particular slide, very simple, very straightforward. Share my email with everybody. And this is a new email, by the way. For some of you, you had my older one. But This is my new email. Buffalo S, B as in Bravo, Echo, Indigo @gmail.com. All right. And thank you, Linda. I'll give you a holler sometime before the day is over. All righty. Biggest thing, keep in mind, we have sometimes a cash balance because we put some money in. Sometimes we don't when we start. This doesn't have one in because I wanted to see what numbers look like. But there's an assumption of sales. This goes down. What your sales are, total sales, what your operating expenses, how much money are you spending on the business. This is what's actually left over. This is a net adjustment. This particular figure, and we didn't really go over it, but these are things like the cash, which is impacted because of a loan that you have, or loans, or lines of credit. But however it comes out, this bottom line here, this one underlined in red, is your ending cash. And what you really want to do is you really hope that this is a positive number, because if it's not, you're going to have to put money into the business. This particular example I said was a real example, and this was a pre-case. This was before taking a look at owner's contribution into the project, as well as pre-loan. By the way, as a side note, many of you have heard me use this particular term about projects. When you start a business, you're starting a project. When you're expanding, it should become a project. When you're actually doing a project, it's a project. These are things that you have to keep in mind, because if you encapsulate it as a project, you can get a good idea of what's going on. You can take a look at what's actually happening. You can make a great discernment with regard to some of the costs in which you are actually going to engage. But again, if you notice, up and down, how much money was left over starts in the beginning of the next month, whatever you had for sales, whatever you're spending for the business, whatever else is impacting the business from a dollar amount, this is what you got left over. In a cash flow statement, this should never be zero. It shouldn't be in the planning stage. And quite honestly, if you really plan it correctly, this will not happen in reality either. But you have to plan it to take a look at how you may be impacted. So does anybody have any questions about what was going on or what went on for last week? We got a yes, we got no's. Everybody's good. Any questions? Not seeing any questions. Adam, if you happen to pick up any or notice any, just let me know. All right. This is another way of explaining what you guys did with Dion first thing today. You're going to tell your story. You're introducing yourself. I am. My role in the company I actually have is this. And for those of you that were able to see this particular presentation, one of the things that I talk about is what is your business? And what is your business is actually being taken from NAICS, the North American Industry Classification System. And we're taking the first sentence really out of that description. It's a lot simpler, but more importantly, it is something that is consistent every time you make the introduction. And people can find it if they need to. The observation. I didn't put it on here in this particular stuff, but this is the problem. What was the problem you saw? Why did you start the business? Where was there a need? This is your solution. What is that particular solution? By the way, your solution actually gets to be a feature. And I don't know if for those who know or do not know about what are called FABs, features, advantages, and benefits. Most days, they talk about just features and benefits. What do we have to offer with the benefit? How do you accomplish that particular solution? How does it benefit the customer client? And then the last piece, and the folks that I worked with last week, this was an interesting piece because we don't normally think about the result. The result normally should be client guided. What is it that your clients do, or what is it that you believe that your clients are going to do after you have provided this wonderful financial service and or product? Will they levitate and float across the room? Will they walk on water? Will they write their friends and tell them how great you actually are, which, by the way, is something you want to have happen? This becomes more of a promotional piece, and a lot of people really don't know that. But with a lot of social media nowadays, this is what people really want to know. This is why we go to other folks. It's a part of it is a referral, but the reason you're being referred is because someone enjoyed what you had to provide. And for my 4 students, this is the second part that they're actually going to deal with. The business model, which is actually based off the business model canvas, which actually talks about several things. Several of them bleed over into go-to-market. How are you going to let people know, first of all, who you are? How are you going to get to them? How are you going to let them know you exist? The competitive analysis. Again, we talk about competition all the time. Do you understand who your competition is? But more interestingly, what makes you different? Why are you different? And if you're not, that's fine. But if you don't take a look at it, you will not know, and you're not clear. And then something we're going to go over in a couple of weeks is your management team. Who are your stars? As a side note, your insurance agent, your banker, they are a part of your team. They're classified as resources, but they are a part of your team. Who's handling your social media? The introduction of yourself as being owner or president of the particular company. Who are your strategists that are helping you? Moi. What companies do you have resources that are with you? Pathstone. These are enormously important a lot of times when introducing what it is you do, because you also are letting individuals know not only who's on your team, but who you're actually working with. So please keep this in mind. This is the business plan canvas. And the part that we're actually going to deal with the 4 individuals I'm working with are the value proposition. What is it that you have? But more importantly, how are you really delivering it? And that delivery is impacted by not only what your relationships are with your customers, but how are you getting it there? How you letting them know that you're there? And what is the segment that you're looking for? This is demographics of the clients that you're looking for. Male, female, they're 5'5" to 5'8". They're making money, at least gross, this particular amount of money. This is what I call a value nugget. What most people don't understand when they do this kind of research and they're looking at people's income, at best, individuals only have about 1% of what they gross that's really disposable income. 1%. So when you're fighting and making that argument for the fact that these individuals can afford the service that you have to keep in mind that disposable income is going to be used for more than just you. All righty. I put this example in play that so people could possibly get to understand the business model generally a little more. So let's say we got a lemonade stand, okay? So your value proposition, of course, is the beverage itself. The segment in this particular case might be people that pass you, or if you're a particular community, you're looking for either adults or you're looking for children. You're looking for both male, female, other. But these are the people that you're potentially looking for to really be your clients. Be very clear on this. You don't sell to everybody. Everybody is not going to buy what you have. And at some point, you will get to realize that despite who we think is our client or who we want as our client may not necessarily be the best for us as a client. We have to take a look at it and be clear. And I will be one of the few people that will tell you, and yes, you can fire a client. If you go through 2 or 3 years of hell with your client, some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, you can release your client. Thank you, Adam. The channel that you're actually going to use, again, how are you going to reach your particular customers? How are you going to deliver your lemonade? The relationship might be long-term, might be short-term. Depends on the type of business that you have and what you're actually doing. And a piece which is not talked about often, that one of our students actually kind of got caught off guard with actually last week, was the revenue stream part. And I wasn't going to pop in there and say, well, we haven't done it, don't ask it. But as was seen, you never know when that conversation comes up. And there's a way to present that particular conversation with regard to how much money do you think you're going to generate. And a lot of times it's not specifically illustrating it in cash. Sometimes it's a matter of talking about it as a matter of percentage. All right. Business model proposition, its conversation is normally something like this. Our value proposition is whatever. Our customers who we will be engaging are this, that, and the other. Again, this is the demographic stuff. We will be engaging in these particular clients in this particular way. Social media as an example. It is believed that the initial relationship or the relationship initially, at least with the customer, will be short-term, long-term due to the types of products and services that are actually being provided, but the intention is to expand. And we are expecting our revenues to actually reach, in this particular case, you can say 50 million for year-end 2021. Oh, was that number too big for some of y'all? 50 million? Nobody wants to make that? That's not on the agenda? Oh, okay. I got one person that's saying that. Okay. 50 million is nothing. It's enough money to buy your lunch. All right. So this particular week, what we're going to talk about primarily.
Wait, Mr. McCarley, can you go back to that slide for a moment, please?
This one here?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes. Just a second. Okay. You can go ahead. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now, without further ado, and this is how this is going to go. I'm going to introduce the particular subject overall, and then I'm going to run it over to Crystal to give a legal comment on the particular subject. What else we got here? That's right, Eric. 50 million. We can get that in about 3 or 4 months. Just stick with us, man. Stick with us. All right. So, designing a succession plan. Many individuals don't think a lot about this. And again, because we have a tendency of functioning as solopreneurs, we do everything. We sweep the floor, we clean the sink, we're writing the letters, we're dealing with the customers and clients, we're buying the products and services. But the thing about it is, I've heard many people talk about they have children that are actually going to take over the business or want the children to take over the business. Succession planning is something that takes time. Please be very clear on this, even with regard to your children. Hopefully they will have gone to college, maybe the military, maybe private services, but the reality gets to be they will get an education from another source, which actually will be enormously important with regard to how you might run your business, and especially if you're growing. But I'll explain a little more of that later. So, what do we have and what are we talking about? Well, first, we're going to look at the word of the day. The word of the day is attainment, an action of achieving a goal towards which one has worked. And many of you have worked really, really hard. So let's make sure that we can achieve what we've actually worked for, that we can attain what we've actually put our minds to. Succession planning. My cute little obscure chart here. If you look at the far right, normally there's a position that pops up. And a lot of times now we're going to talk about small companies. I'm not even going to talk about major corporations because major corporations are kind of interesting. But micro enterprises, individuals that have less than 5 employees, sometimes less than 10, depending on what you do. But a position comes available. For those of you that have read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, the issue gets to be, you want to be able to begin to work on your business. So that means somebody will take over part of the duties and or responsibilities that you have had for so long as you begin to grow. As you grow large enough, i.e. 3 people, you now run into a set of circumstances that you're figuring out how you're going to delegate the responsibilities associated and necessary for the company. Well, that position ultimately might end up getting to be you. You suddenly fall ill. You didn't think a whole lot about it, but you also didn't necessarily think about carrying the business forward. Now, for most individuals who are DBAs, doing business as, should anything technically happen to you whereby the business cannot continue, the business really is done. It is complete. It is finished. However, if you happen to be an LLC and you have an organization behind you, you are a subchapter S and you have an organization behind you. If you're a C corporation, you have a business behind you. Or you're a PLLC. A lot of our attorneys and dentists sometimes set those up. The issue is you normally have an organization which is behind you. But now we got to talk about you. You're feeling ill. You may or may not be able to continue the business. So now what has to happen? You got to take a look at candidates which are around that potentially could fill that position. You have to prepare those individuals. You got to monitor the particular growth overall. You really have to hit them with what is called the enhancement of the skill level. This is normally the step prior to taking on or replacing you. Now, nobody is going to be you. Let me be very clear about that. Or it's a matter of you're replacing a salesperson or another key employee associated with regard to the business. But it becomes a very interesting process. And as a process, it means that you create a system. And a business is a creation of systems. You're not doing everything yourself. You create a system where other people can do it. You may keep an eye on it, but other people are executing the relative process. So when we talk about the position, and we're going to spread it out, on an average, 8 to 12 years, is when you're looking to potentially replace somebody. Now, I know none of you on this webinar are retiring anytime soon, and that's quite honestly, that's fine. But if you have children in particular, and your conversation a lot of times has actually been, well, my child is going to take over. My child is going to run the business. Well, I think if they're getting ready to go into college sometimes within 4 or 5 years, you need to begin to take a look at that process and even have a half conversation with them. Hey, baby, I love you. I know you see me working really hard and you want to take over. Do you want to be able to learn what goes on for the business? And if they say no, I'm really not interested, even though your hard-earned money is what is put them or about to put them into college, it's paid food, put a roof over their shoulders, okay? That's fine. Then you might need to take a look at other people which are in and a part of your organization that potentially might be interested in running the company. But again, you're looking at an 8 to 10 year process. So Ms. Crystal, any legal comments?
So whatever that process is, it has to be something that's in writing, and it has to be something that's easily accessible. And it's not just about a succession plan for those hard topics to talk about when you pass away. It's also if you become incapacitated and you're unable to make decisions, who's making the business decisions for you and in your place? Some of our families, we've got multiple siblings, and just like Mike said, we've got multiple children. It's not an automatic that your oldest sibling or your oldest child or even your parent is going to be the one to come in. And if anything like this has to go to the court, it is going to be one of the hardest things to work out. And the court gets an attitude because they don't work these. And it also might be that the court makes a decision that you're not happy with after, should you become regain capacity. So you want to make sure that whoever it is, that it is in writing and that it is clear who will make decisions should you be unable to.
Thank you, Crystal. Dion made a very interesting comment in the notes. Another thing that has a tendency of impacting a business are also individuals that are going through divorce. A lot of folks don't realize this, but divorce can actually not only take a lot of time from the individual that's being impacted, but it can in fact affect the business and the business's effectiveness. So again, our position, we look at the top, again, we're looking at 8 to 10 year margin of what we want to do, how we want to do it. Then our candidates. So now we're talking 6 to 8 years out before the possible replacement or even preparation. These candidates can come from inside the business. They can come from outside the business. What's interesting about inside the business that there are a lot of people who assume that those inside want to take your particular position. Never make that assumption. They might have a problem with you as the boss. They don't want to have anything to do with the company, but they are the most qualified. Yet you'll find individuals who are on the outside that may not be as qualified, but there is enormous potential that you see and them being able to do some of the duties within the business and possibly growing through the business. Now, again, I'm talking about small companies here. Larger companies, this is a task I wouldn't even want to really have to handle, but I understand it is something that needs to be done. It needs to be set up. So again, you can get your people from the inside of the company. You look at the work, the trades, the education, whether or not they are mentally in a position to possibly expand and learn more, because not everybody's like that. But if you can't find somebody to possibly take over a particular position inside the company, then sometimes you have to go outside. And again, if you go outside, you're still talking about 6 to 8 years, because your intent at the interview is, I want them to take over and be VP of this. They may or may not last that long because you missed something as a part of the initial discussion. So Crystal, what do you have to say about interested participants?
You did a very good job. The only thing I forgot in the first part is you probably want to have a talk with people, letting them know that they are your intended person. The worst thing that can happen is that there's an emergency and then somebody comes to me and says, okay, you're the it person and I didn't know, right? And I'm not prepared. So you want to definitely have a talk with that person and giving them insight. But otherwise, Mike, you did a great job.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, to prepare your choice. And actually, I should make this choices because it may not be one person. It may be somebody else. But again, we're talking 4 to 6 years out. That preparation means a lot of different things. And quite honestly, it's really kind of at this point that I really think that top management, the administration, most of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't. When you're taught about business, a lot of times it's always about management, management, management. Nobody has a conversation about administration. So for those of you who have a pen and paper, I'm gonna give you this one real quick. Administration normally sets the direction and the policies associated with the business. Management follows those particular directions. Labor or its implementation are the ones who end up doing it. Very rarely will you find labor actually having a conversation with administration, but they always are having a conversation with management. And management is guiding that system for the betterment of the company. Let's bring it to micro enterprises. Right now, you're the administration, the management, and the implementation. You have to bring yourself out of that point after a while. You will always, always be administration. But management now is being replaced by other individuals, and implementation are going to be done by another set of individuals after a while. This is just a guess on my part, but I think at the 5-year mark, any micro enterprise should have at least 5 employees. You're not hiring one a year per se. It may not be till year 4 that you hire some folks. But in order to make yourself much more effective and to be able to step back and take a look at how to prepare somebody else, you got to have people there. You got to have a plan in place. What is it they need to learn? You might be a part of a business that your tax structure happens to be different, i.e., hint, hint, real estate. Okay. Anyway, many people don't understand the real estate actually functions as a very different animal from most other businesses. But the thing about it is, do you understand taxes? Do you understand the accounting which is actually in place? You don't have to know how to do it, but do you understand what the numbers mean? Can you actually manage other people? Have you had your conversation with your attorney, with your banker, with your insurance agent? But whoever you're looking to bring up to replace you, they also need to understand those particular aspects of communication. So preparation of your particular choice that you want to come in and replace you is enormously important. And it is the first step in actually also beginning to whittle down your choices to who you're looking at as a more prime candidate. Ms. Crystal.
Thanks, Mike. When you're looking at employees, and this is not just applicable to succession plans, consider whether or not your business model would want actual employees, which comes along with tax implications, like Mike said, workers' comp insurance, those type of things, or whether you can actually have independent contractor. There is a difference in terms of the amount of control you have over those people and the amount of time, but there's also some tax benefits to having an independent contractor. So you need to talk to an attorney and research the difference in the benefits and the pros and cons of each.
All righty. Everybody got that?
Mike, I'm so sorry. Dion, I just wanted to make a comment. A lot of let's see, outside of Black-owned businesses, if you look at small businesses that are owned by other cultures of color, people of color, South Asian, East Asian, small businesses, they are family run. They have right there in the store, in the business, family members operating the business by their side. And a lot of them, you go into these businesses, they have their young children there every day. So they're developing the next, they're doing their succession planning right there every day by bringing their young children into the business with them. And, you know, if you want to say it by osmosis, these children are learning the ins and outs of running that business. And if something were to happen to mom or dad, they could take over the day-to-day operations of the business. So I would like to encourage our small business owners who are on the call with us today, who participate in our programs, to think about engaging a family member, even your young children, as you launch and grow your business.
Thank you, Dion. As it is enormously important, there is a difference in cultural execution with regard to the businesses. Quite honestly, what a lot of people are not as familiar with is probably about 150 years ago, I think it is, 175. There were a lot of minority businesses in the state of New York that, quite honestly, they're family owned. They came from the South, came out of slavery, built businesses, Someone on one of these particular education pieces, I don't think it was mine, but they had talked about Black Wall Street. And Black Wall Street became an indication of family members that established businesses who gained wealth, but people learned about business. And so we got to keep this stuff in mind, people. Keep it in mind. We are working for the future, not always just remembering the past.
So if I could just give a little example, I'm sure no one on this call is old enough to remember, but ask your parents or your grandparents. My grandfather owned Jefferson Auto Parts on Jefferson Avenue long time ago. And I had to be like from 7 to 13 working in the store. And that's how I earned my chores. Now come to find, I mean, my allowance. My grandfather would give me a weekly allowance, but also he was writing it off. He was writing that off. It was a business benefit to him. Now he closed down, so I don't know if I would have been able to take over an auto parts store because I had no interest in it, but he, kept me and my father and my aunts involved, but he was also able to write that off. And tax laws are much more friendlier now, where if you do have your children working for you and you're careful about how you're documenting it, you're also able to write these things off.
All right, yes, definitely true. Yes, as Crystal said, most of you I know are not old enough to remember that. And the only reason I know that is because my father actually used to do auto repair with my grandfather. So it's one of those things. This is how small the community actually is. Okay? And so we got to keep it moving, folks. Got to keep it moving. So now, we run into 2 to 4 years out. Many people don't think a lot about it, but people didn't think COVID was going to last as long either. We're pretty much coming on to a year as far as I'm concerned. Once a quarter in, the quarter's already done. We should be moving on to the next quarter. Simone, you're not 35 or under? Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So we're talking about enhancing a particular skill level. At this particular point, you may have only 1 or 2 individuals that you're really kind of looking at to possibly take the reins for the company. You may have whittled it down from 4 or 5 folks. But here is a particular point when I talked about people getting to understand the taxes. This is people getting to understand the taxes. They're a part of the accounting department to try to figure out what goes on once in a while and learn how that accounting is actually handled. If you've grown enough and you actually have a board, and this is for profit as well as not for profit, they are learning to have a conversation and discussion with the board, which is associated with regard to the particular business. Okay. This training is definitely and should outline a person's mental strength and ability to handle multiple circumstances all at the same time. This is when, in the worst case scenario, when what people think, because you're already having your people work 10-hour days in this particular capacity, they're working now 16-hour days. Because whether we want to admit it or not, as a business owner, we're working 18-hour days because we're constantly taking a look at what needs to be done. How am I making payroll? How am I going to get this contract? I got to fill out this bid. I'm up to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I tell everybody from the physical perspective, you got to get 4 hours of sleep at least. Everybody keeps talking 8-hour mess. You run a business, you're growing a business, please make sure that you are getting at least 4 hours worth of sleep, that you are hydrating the body with water, and that you are eating food that does not fall into the potato chip category. That's right, Dion. Knock that water out, girl. Whew. All right. Enormously important. But this is when people are actually put to the test. Where are you? What do you think about stuff? Where you're sitting with you. and they ask you a question, well, I understand that we might be running a little short on payroll. How do we actually handle this? And depending on your knowledge and experience, instead of answering the question directly, you ask them, how would you handle it? It gives them an ability to begin to understand how to make decisions within the business. Someone's misbehaving, they've misrepresented the company. How do you release the individual from that particular company? But enhancing your skill requires many, many things. Krista?
You handled that well. I have nothing to add.
Thank you, Krista. And so now, finally, after we have enhanced the skill, and normally it's sometime maybe 6 months before what was a planned deadline. And again, this entire presentation is talked about because this has been a planned process. I'm going to make a comment in a minute about unplanned. But as a planned process, at about 6 months, the individual that you've chosen, let's say out of the two, will be announced. Now, keep in mind, especially if you're dealing with two individuals, whoever the second individual is also has a place, either in an administrative capacity as well, or in high-end management. But you're not just going to dump the one off after spending time, resources, and money to make this actually happen. But as a planned process, one person will be chosen, and they will now be monitored. Monitored is everything. And I've got year 1 to 2 here, but that process of monitoring is nothing more than taking a look at what's been taught. Does their skill actually fit them? Do they have the personality which is necessary to take on a particular position? And again, at about 6 months, you're going to make a choice of who's going to be the individual that's going to come in. But there are a lot of things in this monitoring process which have a tendency of hitting the legal table. And you need to be aware of this stuff. Miss Crystal.
There are a lot of things when it comes to monitoring, and it's too many to go in. I mean, on this slide alone, we could have one webinar and talking about all the things that you need to monitor, and you need to make sure that you have trails in order to remain compliant. But it is prudent. You know, you need to be prudent in the way you monitor your progress, in the way you're keeping track of everything. I always tell people paper trails are very important. A good example of that is in the space of COVID. There are a lot of businesses that were unable to get grants and loans that were established for COVID relief because they didn't have a proper paper trail to be able to prove certain things. So you want to keep it not only for your well-being, but also should it come up, I mean, God willing, we don't have anything like COVID ever again, but if you need to get loans or any type of funding, even organizations that give support funding, they want to see a paper trail and they want to see that you're keeping track of these things. So monitoring progress is important in many different ways and for many different reasons.
Thank you, Crystal. So again, keep that in mind. Year 1 to 2, and quite honestly, even 5 years out of the relative process with regard to your succession plan. Definitely have your legal component a part to guide you through this particular process. But I made the comment at 6 months, and normally at 6 months, you're making a decision, and ta-da, the position which is at the top. Now, let me have a more interesting conversation, which is, you planned out some stuff initially, but the plan has been accelerated. In an accelerated plan, it is my suggestion that normally when you are at this particular piece here, the enhancement of the skill 2 to 4 years out, and providing the fact that you are in good health, you should already have in your head possibly who you might want to be at the top. If for some reason something actually happens, This will get to be a really quick phase, normally 6 months to a year, before that person is able to sit in the seat. What's interesting for those of you that potentially are thinking about having boards for your company, you have to go through your board for certain things associated with the company, because your board is, among other things, fiscally responsible for your particular company. And the person at the top, you have to report, quite honestly, to that board. So if you're about to be replaced by somebody, the board not only has to vote on it, but hopefully they see the same things that you see and putting that person actually at the top. Crystal?
Trying to get to the unmute button. I'm like, trying to get there. That's why, in the case of very few exceptions, do I recommend a type of business structure that requires to have board approval. If you want to have complete autonomy over your succession plan, then let's choose a business structure that does not require a board to make that decision for you. There are very few cases, but where you absolutely unequivocally have to have a C Corp, and we can discuss that when your time comes. But if you don't want other people having to make that decision for you, have a structure that allows for you to be able to make it for yourself.
All righty. So does everybody get primarily what's been presented, at least today? You understanding that it's a planned process, that you understand that it actually takes a little bit of time. Put it in the chat. We got some thumbs up over here somewhere. Getting a couple of people in the chat. Good, good. Yes, Dan.
Michael and Crystal, I wonder, given that so many of our small business clients, especially the people who are here this morning, are sole proprietors, they don't have, they're it, right? What do you advise that they must have in place in the event of a catastrophic event, or them being unable to run their own business? I'm thinking in terms of, Crystal talked about it earlier, being prepared, having your documents at hand, making sure they're in a place that's safe and secure, but that someone you trust knows where that place is, right? Maybe, having a D&D in place, making sure you have your will set up. I also want to encourage people to be financially responsible. We're talking about building personal and familial wealth, not leaving your family with a boatload of debt. So just talk about some of the things that they should have in place right now, they could start working on right now.
It's funny you said that, because I just had a conversation this morning about our, and we do it in our communities a lot, our Cash App funerals. You want to make, we can't. So this is not even just about the business. This is advice that we need to have for us moving forward. We need to have wills. Tomorrow is not promised. I don't mean to get all spiritual on people, but tomorrow's not promised. I just told Mike about a case of a business owner. They were in their 20s. The husband had a heart attack or an aneurysm. He died. No life insurance, because at that age, you're not really thinking about it. But she had a business, and she's been struggling trying to make it back because she doesn't have that underlying income that was really sustaining the house. But these are things that we need to have in place. A will that is saying how your business is going to, whose hands it's going to be left in, and who's making the decisions. Because when you have a bona fide business, structured business, this is a separate entity than you. Think of it, if you have at least the bare minimum in terms of how your children are going to be taken care of, well, your business is its own separate entity. How is that going to be taken care of? Who's going to be the guardian for that? So making sure we have that. Baby steps, but making sure we have insurance in place. And absolutely, Alfonso, this is where customer contracts fall into this category. If we're dealing with customers and we're just keeping these ideas in our head, well, if people can't get in your head to know what the contract is with the person, the client, then there's no way that they can fulfill it. The client can come back and say, well, we decided on this price that I already prepaid, and there are 5 years left in our contract, or there are 5 years left in promissory of services that are due. If that's not in writing, then the people who are going behind you and taking care of your business don't actually know that. But if there's a file, if there's, and if you're not tech savvy, I'm not the best tech person, but I have a filing cabinet, an old-fashioned filing cabinet. You can go in there and you see my client contracts according to month. At least there's somewhere where people can find them should something happen to me, and they know what my business owes to my customers. When you have a fully structured business, when you pass or when you cease to exist, that business doesn't automatically cease to exist. And there are obligations that the business still has and that they can legally be called upon to fulfill even after you're gone. So you want to make sure you have all of that in writing, and contracts absolutely does fall on that. Not only your client contracts, but your contracts that you have with other businesses to serve and utilize and help you.
Crystal, can you quickly tell us what is a power of attorney?
So power of attorney is giving someone else signatory power. It's giving them your power to, you see my daughter in the background, sorry, remote. It is giving someone power to make the decisions for you. You don't necessarily have to be incapacitated, but you have signed something. And a lot of times we don't even do that right. We need to get power of attorney. We need to file them with the Erie County Clerk's Office in order for, or whatever county you're in, Monroe County, if it's in Rochester, file them within the clerk's office so that they're valid and can be taken into account. And more newer forms have where we can be very specific about the power that you're giving people. So it could just relate it to one aspect of the business. It doesn't have to be an overarching power of attorney that they can basically control your entire life, or it could be something having to do with personal. But we need to make sure that we're consulting attorneys to make sure we get this stuff done properly, fully, and filed correctly.
Great, thank you so much.
Amen. Amen. This is a planned process, people. You have to think about it. You have to engage it. We have to move forward from not all the old ways, but definitely from some of them, because we have to be able to secure the future. And it's identified, it takes time. You're thinking about a legacy. And more interestingly, and this does not happen as often as it probably should, mentorship should come from the top. You should be the one that's actually telling your potential final candidates, give them the real. You know, this is, you know, I started out and I had a nickel in my pocket, and I went to Jersey and I jumped a couple banks, and then I came to Buffalo and laid low for a while. You know, then I started taking cans and picking them up. I mean, I heard an interesting story. This is kind of an off topic of individuals that are actually gathering cans. And what they're doing is they're taking the cans to Detroit, because apparently Detroit pays more money per bottle and can than we do here in Western New York. And so they're taking truckloads to friggin' Detroit to sit around and get their money. People are actually living off of this. Okay. They're living in this manner.
FYI, that's illegal.
Anyway, you know, those little bottles, they have that little sticker on it that says, and these can be cashed in these particular states. They didn't have to be purchased from that particular state that they got them for, and they don't have to be turned in from the same place either. That's the caveat, and that's the piece that we don't necessarily always know or get. So, hey, it's a big, big world out there.
Dion here, a couple things. Crystal, there's a question here for you. Simone and Alfonso would like to know if you have any recommendations for lawyers who do estate planning.
I do. So reach out to me and I'll give you those recommendations. I have a couple of attorneys attorneys of color that I work with in this area that can help depending on the estate. And so reach out to me, my email address, I'll put it in the chat, and Alfonso, you can feel free to reach out to me too.
Just a final point that I wanted to make. If you have identified someone who could take over from your business, and this person is in your succession plan process, one of the things I suggest is that you introduce them to your clients, your vendors, your business partners. So if you're having meetings, if you're doing site visits, etc., you take them with you so they can begin to start forming a relationship with those different counterparts.
Good point. So, does anybody actually have any other questions about what's going on, what's been presented today? Like say, Crystal has put her information in the chat box. You guys have my information already. Any questions offhand? Did everybody understand, again, a lot of what's been presented today? Give me a yes, give me thumbs up, give me a comment in the comment box. I want to personally thank Crystal for being on this call with me. It's a wonderful experience to deal with, because I don't know everything. In a minute, I will shed off legal questions like nobody's business to Crystal. So, all right. I got a couple of yeses here. Any thumbs up? Again, Crystal, I want to thank you very much. And so, Dion, I'm going to shift it back to you.
I'm on mute. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm so sorry that we've lost Adam and Jahida, but they had a conflict with the last portion of today's call, and so they had to drop off. So you got stuck with me. Crystal and Michael, thank you so much. This has been some really eye-opening information, very helpful information. You've provided tips and tools that people can begin to put into practice for their businesses and even just their personal lives. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. No problem.
Great. So just a reminder of some upcoming events. The first one is next Monday, as Adam would say, same place, same time. No, he says something about Batman. I don't remember.
That's right. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat channel. Michael, would you like to just give us a preview of what week 9 is going to cover?
Well, actually, in looking at week 9, we're going to have a conversation about exit planning. Many people don't necessarily think a lot about it, but exit strategy, again, like succession planning, is enormously important. And we're going to look at some of the considerations associated with either closing a business, selling a business, or actually being acquired by somebody else. So.
Fantastic. That's going to be a great class next week. Our Profit and Loss podcast. Listen in. I know a few of you have checked out a couple of the new podcasts and you're loving it. So we encourage everyone, just download, subscribe for free. And whenever a new podcast, which is I think every Wednesday, becomes available, you'll get that on your phone and you can get some really insightful information and ideas for how to start or grow your business. Just a reminder that the 2 grants, the Monroe County Fast Forward Grant and the Erie County Back to Business Grants, are closing today. So please get your application in by 5 o'clock today if you haven't already done so. register for our Road to Wealth November 19th event. And if you have any questions about it, anything that was covered in today's workshop or any of the upcoming events, please, you can reach us at pecky@pathstone.org, PECI@pathstone.org. And now I think it's time for us to invite you to have lunch on us. So I think you know the drill. Just type in the chat your preferred restaurant for this week, and Jahida will get your lunch voucher out to you. So keep typing your lunch choice in the chat. I just want to point out that sometimes during these classes, I will privately message someone, just checking in, see how you're doing, or maybe privately respond to a question that you asked in the chat. So please make it a regular practice to check your private messages or even save the chat. Everyone who attends these classes have the ability to save the chat and go through and take a look at what was said in the chat during the class. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a great class. I think we had at the peak 25 participants. So yay! It's so good to see you all here every Monday. I cannot tell you how happy it makes me to see you all here every Monday. I hope you're looking forward to graduation. We're gonna make it a very special one. And I just want you to know, give you guys a heads up, we are designing some fantastic programs for you for 2021. So stick with us, stay safe, and we will see you next Monday. Thank you so much, Michael and Crystal.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Make sure you vote tomorrow. Go vote.
Already did mine.
Everybody
Bye,
have a good
guys.
week.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.